when you strip away his physical appearance, it really still just ends up being a relatable story about a young person who is struggling to fit in.
Yeah.
And isn't that one of the most universal themes there are?
Eric.
Hello, Tig.
You just got done watching the 1985 drama Mask, starring Cher, Sam Elliott, and Eric Stoltz.
Yes, I did. And more importantly, directed by the great Peter Bogdanovich, who I am a fan of, though more for his role as a film historian than I am for his role as a director. He is a very good director, best known for The Last Picture Show. I think he's been a fantastic ambassador for cinema. So when you gave me Mask, I was pretty happy about that because I was like, okay, this is a Bogdanovich picture I have not seen. I used to love the cartoon that was based on this, the vehicles that would transform into like weapons would come out and stuff. They would put on these. What?
No, I think it's not a spinoff or no.
Oh, they're not related. Oh, because I most of my notes are about the connections between the cartoon and this.
Oh boy.
Yes, I did. I did just watch Mask.
And quickly, for people who maybe didn't watch it or need a refresher, Mask is about an intelligent, outgoing kid named Rocky Dennis, based on a true story. Well, yeah, loosely based on a true story.
Yes.
Suffers from a severe facial deformity and struggles to overcome ridicule at school, and also tries to find first love with the help of his complicated mom and his biker family.
Complicated mom is a very apt description. This picture, you kind of get the sense going into it, and if you know about it sort of on the periphery but you haven't actually watched it, you'd probably get the idea that it is a feel-good overcoming obstacles movie, and potentially one of these movies that is a feel-good overcoming obstacles movie that then has like a tragic end. And it's sort of that, but I gotta tell you, I'm of mixed minds when it comes to this movie.
She talks about you.
Yeah, I bet she does.
On one hand, Eric Stoltz just killed it. Killed it. His portrayal of Rocky Dennis was warm and enchanting and likable. I mean, I just liked everything about this kid. He was a delight. But then fully half the movie is devoted to Cher and the bikers. And I just did not want to be in that world. I wasn't interested in that world. I wasn't interested in that sort of odd family dynamic. It is part of their actual real life story. You can certainly make the case that you can't extract one from the other. They have to go together.
Right.
So I understand that. And don't demand that, they should have removed all that stuff. But it did mean that I was bouncing back and forth between the character that I wanted to follow and the character that I kind of had to follow in order to get the fuller context.
That's interesting because you didn't enjoy the Cher parts, basically, to sum it up.
If I could turn back time, I would not watch those portions.
Really? That's amazing. Because for me, even as a kid, I mean, obviously loved the Rocky Dennis parts of it, because especially as a kid, but I always enjoyed the Cher parts, and I don't know why, because even as a kid, you would, I don't know, I feel like as a kid you would think like, why would you care at all? But there's something about Cher being angry and broken that like is intriguing to me.
When there is no heaven.
I think I have an answer. Don't worry, I got you, babe. I think it's because you were an adolescent, and Cher being an attractive woman, especially at the time, you saw that despite the fact that this movie was filled with gypsies, tramps, and thieves, you really just enjoyed watching Cher because the young man that you were really enjoyed seeing that dark lady on screen.
We feel that life expectancy is
3 to 6 months. First you told me that he was retarded, then you said he was going to be blind and deaf. Then you told me he'd never be able to do anything that regular kids could do. If I had dug his grave every time one of you geniuses told me he was going to die, I'd be eating fucking chop suey in China by now.
Bye. To repeat, I think Eric Stoltz just absolutely nailed that part. He got so much warmth and humanity across, even through those heavy, heavy prosthetics that he's acting through.
These things are a drag. Dust in my hair, holes in my shoes, no money in my pocket, and the sun shining on my face. That it?
He really made Rocky into a likable young man who you really rooted for, and you wanted to see him succeed. You were annoyed when people at school said insensitive things to him. Like when he gets up in front of the class and tells the story of the Trojan War, you know, you kind of get caught up in it because it's like, okay, he's in his element. You know, he's a smart, outgoing kid, and if people give him a chance, he can show that. And that's the kind that I really enjoyed that stuff.
They open the gates, wheel in this horse, and say, wow, big horse. Nighttime comes, the horse opens up, and all the armies come out. And that's how the Trojan War began.
And then he would go home to his mom, whacked out on drugs or drunk or whatever. I should note, just for the sake of full disclosure, that I watched the director's cut of this movie, not the original theatrical release. The music was different. Bogdanovich wanted Springsteen in all these scenes, but the studio wouldn't pony up the cash. But I guess later on, when Mask was very successful, he was able to get them to go back, and he was able to replace it with some Springsteen stuff. I'll say this: Bogdanovich has a really great naturalistic style to his direction. There's not anything fancy going on here, and that's to the film's benefit. It's really just very kind of stripped down. It's very grounded and rooted. You feel like you're there with them.
The reason that I think I liked it so much as a kid is because I saw this movie and The Outsiders in the same summer. And I think they were both movies that didn't have happy endings and were kind of gritty, and their lives, like, they're kind of the same feel, those two movies. They're down and out people that have a rough time getting through life. A lot of people shit on them.
Yeah, this is
outcasts.
This movie is definitely in the lineage of like $1 Million Baby and Bridge to Terabithia or something like that. Is The Fault in Our Stars? I think The Fault in Our Stars is one of those movies too. Like, a young person with promise dies. You know, that's obviously the case here, which is true to life. Rocky Dennis did not live, into adulthood. Though I do feel like it was treated almost too matter-of-factly, almost too abruptly. I don't think his death scene was actually pulled off all that well. I kind of wanted to be a little more swept up in the emotion, and I was just sort of like, oh, I guess he has a headache, he's about to die.
Yeah, but you didn't think it was that, like, for me, I thought it was a rough scene because Cher wakes up, the school calls and says he's not at school.
Right.
And there's like that instance where you could see that she kind of is afraid about it. So then because she knows that he went to bed with a bad headache.
Right.
So then she goes in the room and starts acting to herself like, you just stay up and like talking. Like, you could tell that she knows that something happened.
Well, you sure as hell aren't going to get a scholarship if you stay in the sack all day, are you? You had a Spanish test, didn't you, Rocky? You might have a little Spanish test, huh?
Cold. Well, you got your covers off of you. Rocky, wake up.
I thought that was that's a rough scene, I felt like.
Cher's generally good throughout the picture, but for whatever reason, and I'm not really sure why, I didn't buy that scene. I didn't even really have an opportunity to dwell in the emotion or the impact of the moment. It was just sort of like, okay, yeah, the credits are going to roll in about 2 minutes, so we got to get to this part. Like, let's do this part. Okay, Rocky passed away. All right, sounds good. I guess we can roll the credits now. The movie's over. But I can certainly see how other people would have been hit in that scene.
What did you think about the reluctantly goes to the summer camp for the blind people? That whole thing always killed me because as a kid I was like, finally he's meeting a girl and he's gonna it's gonna work out for him.
Hey, you in the back, take that mask off so I can see who I'm talking to.
Well, I'll try, but it ain't gonna be easy.
Gee, I'm sorry. I really thought it was a mask.
It's okay, it happens all the time. No big deal.
Oh yeah, I thought that was wonderful because this person who has always been judged by how he looks, he's always been judged in this very visual way, and you put him in this environment where the only way he can be judged is through his personality and his intellect and his sense of humor and how he gets on with people. It's kind of wonderful that he had the opportunity to live that little slice of normalcy ever so briefly before
Laura Dern's parents got involved.
That's true. Yeah, Laura Dern's parents were kind of dicks, but that was to be expected. Yeah, I thought that was all great.
Nice meeting you, Rocky.
Yes. Come on, honey, let's go. I'm gonna say goodbye. I want to kiss you, but my parents are watching.
Even the awkward hooker scene, where mom hires a call girl, my mom hires a prostitute, figuring like he can't get girls. I'll just do this for him. You know, she does like Sam Elliott's character says. She makes bad decisions with the best of intentions,
right?
Which is very much what that was. But it ends up being this really sweet scene where they hang out for the night and they chat. And she's just like this sweet young girl, and they're having breakfast in the morning. You know, mom gets up in the morning, and the three of them are sitting around the breakfast table, like just having this little chit chat. And she's like, "What on earth?" Another thing that I wanted to touch on was Sam Elliott. Usually, Sam Elliott is like a slam dunk almost always. I wasn't entirely sure if I bought the like, this is the cool guy who like is super cool. You know, that very first scene when he shows up, he kind of walks in. I think they're at a party at the house, I think. And he walks in and it's like all the oxygen gets sucked out of the room. And she's like, oh, he's back. And I have such mixed emotions. And everyone's like, oh, yo, Gar's here. This is incredible. I was like, okay.
Sam Elliott said this was his favorite role ever.
And to be clear, like if that came across like a knock, it's not a knock on Sam Elliott or his performance.
Right.
It's on the character as written, because Sam Elliott himself is again very good in the role. Everyone is. I think acting wise, pretty much across the board, like everyone is really good here.
It was fun to watch it again as an adult and realize that the acting was good, because a lot of times when you watch a movie as a kid and then you come back as an adult, you go, oh my God, this is cheesy. Like this is bad. But it was cool to go back and be like, oh no, there's a reason that Cher and Eric Stoltz won the Golden Globe.
To be very clear, like my non-enjoyment of the Cher scenes and the biker family scenes and that whole arc, that whole story arc, it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the writing or the direction or the acting. For personal reasons, it just was not something that I had enjoyment watching. Even though I recognize from outside of that, like objectively, they were all very, very good in what they were doing.
That happens with a lot of movies. There's movies that I refuse to watch because there's some little personal, like for the same reasons. Like there'll be something that
because there's a little. You won't watch a movie because there's a little person in it. What in the hell?
Oh. I just want to add one more thing, and that was when Cher rips his baseball card in half. As a child, I was like so devastated.
Oh.
Don't!
All you care about are these stupid cards.
All you care about is getting loaded and laid.
I found this interesting, right? In the movie, he's collecting the 1955 Dodgers. The actual Rocky Dennis passed away in 1975 or something like that. So the 55 Dodgers would have been like roughly in his wheelhouse. But the movie appears to take place in the 80s. It made me wonder if the actual Rocky Dennis was into the 55 Dodgers, and they just decided to keep that as a tribute to the real character.
Right.
Vaguely remember reading something, the actual mom, who I guess she's the one who wrote the memoir or the book that turned into the movie, and that initially she didn't like that the movie was so much focused on her and it wasn't all about Rocky, but then she realized, oh, you kind of need the two things to go together, because like you said, the picture's really about their relationship. It's about those two together. It's not really his story, it's their story.
Yeah, I mean, how many times in the movie they talk about like when he goes away to camp and she doesn't know how to function without him. She's like begging Gar to write those letters because she doesn't know how to like do anything, and she just can't function without him not being there because he's always been there.
You help me write the letter, please. You're away at camp. You're not in your room, and I miss you, and I'm sorry that I was bad. And
you can see throughout the film that she is kind of just this complete lost soul. The only thing she really knows how to do is to get tanked and get laid. And the only thing that gives her any sort of stability, the only thing that gives her any kind of focus whatsoever, the only thing that suddenly turns her into a responsible adult is her son. I mean, you get that almost right off the bat. I think it's the very first scene in the movie is her sitting with the principal trying to get him into
like a normal school. Yeah,
she is his greatest advocate, and that is what she lives for more than anything else.
For the good of my students as well as your son, I'm going to need some additional information.
Look, Mr. Sims, you know what? Don't jerk me around. I'm not in the mood. This is a copy of our lease. This is a copy of Rocky's birth certificate, and this is his last report card from Stevens Junior High School, where he was in the top 5% of his class. My lawyer's name is B.D. Higgins, and he's told me of my rights. If you give me any shit at all, he's going to drag your ass into court.
I hope that people that haven't seen it give it a shot, just because it's like my son ended up loving it because it's so not what he's ever seen. So it's visually and story wise and everything, it's sort of outside his life experiences. So
I could certainly see that, especially because when you strip away his physical appearance, it really still just ends up being a relatable story about a young person who is struggling to fit in. Yeah. And isn't that one of the most universal themes there are?
Yeah, that's why it probably did good. And that's why I was one of whatever many kids that probably, because it doesn't feel like a kid's movie, but that's literally why I watched it. Because I'm an outcast too, that kind of feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it really accomplished that pretty fantastically.
If that's a mask he's wearing, I sure wish he'd take it off.
I'll take my mask off if you take your mask off, you son of a bitch.
That means that it's my turn to throw something at you.
Yes, I'm excited.
So you are going to watch the 2013 Indian zombie comedy, Go Goa Gone.
Zombies? इंडिया में भूत प्रेत होते हैं, ये zombies कहाँ से आ गए?
ग्लोबलाइजेशन, ये फिरंगियों ने वाट लगा दी है। पहले लेकर आए HIV, अभी ज़ॉम्बी।
Goa Gone?
Goa, G-O-A, Gone.
Give it a look-see, and I'll come back here and we'll discuss Goa Gone. So if you enjoy hanging out at the movie club, you can always hang out on our Patreon, where you get to see these episodes earlier than everybody else at Nerd Out With Me Patreon. And make sure you leave a comment about whether you watched Mask, if you enjoyed the show Mask, or if...
And what your favorite Cher song is.
Yeah, we want to know what your favorite Cher song is. Thanks for hanging out at the movie club.